All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Torah Studies. We have a great class tonight. Tonight's class is entitled Still Here, But Why? And it seeks to explore the mystery and the secret of Jewish survival, Jewish eternality. Why is it and how is it that the Jew is still here, despite all attempts to the contrary? How are Jews still here? All right, so I want to begin with an anecdote that I heard. And did it happen? I don't know. But allegedly this happened where it was Louis XIV, King Louis XIV, who turned to Blaise Pascal. Is that how we pronounce his name? Sandrine? Did I get that right? Blaise? Blaise, yeah? Blaise
Yes.
Pascal?
Yes.
And asked...
Oui.
Good. And asked the question, can you tell me, said Blaise Pascal, can you tell me, can you prove to me, can you give me an example of the supernatural? Remember Pascal, you know, what I know about Pascal? Hey guys, welcome. What do I know about Pascal? Didn't he have a, Pascal's, wasn't there like a theorem? Didn't he have something, Pascal?
The name is familiar, but I'm not sure.
Did he have some?
Did he have a triangle?
Did he have a triangle? Right, he had something with a triangle. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, he asked about the supernatural. King Louis XIV and Blaise Pascal said, "Oh, you want proof of the supernatural?" The Jews. That was his response. But the question is, what is the key to Jewish survival? What is the key to Jewish eternality? And I'm so glad you all asked the question, because tonight we have some answers. So here we go. I want to begin with, we'll get right out of the gate. We're going to start with text number 1, which is a beautiful and poetic text from Rabbi Kook, who's the first chief rabbi of Israel, of the modern state of Israel. And he writes also about Jewish eternality. Let me pull this up here. You guys all have it in front of you, but let me just pull it up on the screen for those on Zoom, and we will begin. All right. Dasi, if you don't mind, please beginning. This is text number 1 from Rabbi Kook.
Jacob strides forward with pride and winds the tendrils of righteousness as his spirit rises across the world. He hears the ticking of hours and moments with a sense of perpetuity and eternity. He journeys onward with eternal strength and forges the floods of waves and flow of time. Days of sorrow, like a multitude of mighty waters, never frighten him. He knows their force is merely passing, while he derives strength, eternity, and splendor from the source of all existence. With God's might, Jacob will be returned, and those who perished resurrected. His eternity will overcome the fleeting moments that coalesce into days and weeks and pool in the wellspring of eternity, the supernal sea of freedom.
Thank you for reading that. Very poetic, a lot of flowery language, speaking of the eternality of Jacob, which is obviously, referring to the Jewish people as a whole, as a collective. And, I think it's, there's something powerful in this. And the question is it, is he reflecting on the past? Is it a blessing for the future? Is it hopefulness? Is it a guarantee? How do we know that, that Jews will be eternal? What is going on here? So, we spoke about this a little bit from Louis XIV and Pascal. We spoke about this from Rabbi Kook. And now what I want to do is put this all on the side for a moment. And we're going to focus on a section from this week's Torah portion. So let me just introduce this week's Torah portion. So this week we begin reading the book of Exodus. And the book of Exodus in Hebrew is called Shemot. Can someone tell me what the word Shemot means?
Words.
Names. Shame is name. No, shame, that sounds wrong. Shame, not the English word shame, but shame in Hebrew means name. Shemot, names, plural. And the reason on a very simple level why the book and the Torah portion is called Shemot in Hebrew is because literally the book begins with Eila Shemot, B'nai Yisrael Habayim Mitzrayim. These are the names of the children of Israel that came to Egypt. And it enumerates the mishpacha, it enumerates the family, the Jewish family, the family of Yaakov, of Jacob, that came down to Egypt. So Shemot, the names of the people. But you and I know that the name of a Torah portion, the name of a book, is not just because it happened to be a word that is in proximity to the beginning. That's like too incidental. But rather the name of a book, the name of a chapter, certainly the name of an entire book of Torah, speaks to the essence of what it discusses. And so the question becomes, how does the word names, Shemot, how does it capture the very essence of the book of Exodus? You see, the English name almost sounds better than the Hebrew name. The English name is Exodus. Well, that makes a lot of sense. That's a major highlight of the first half of the book. Shemot, names? I don't know. I was listing the names at the beginning. It's very incidental sounding. And yet we know that, of course, the Hebrew name is not an incidental name, but a core name. And so what's the answer? The answer is, one of the answers is as follows. What was the key to survival? What was the key to the Exodus? It says there are three things the Jews maintained even while enslaved in Egypt. Number one, they kept their language. They spoke Hebrew. Number two, they kept their way of dressing. And distinct from the Egyptians. And number three, they kept their Hebrew names, their Jewish names. And it was in the merit of those three things that they survived. Can you imagine? It's almost like, had they not kept their names, had they not kept their language, had they not kept their dress, their clothing, they would have been Egyptians. And then what would be left for them to be extricated? Because that was the identity. But today we're going to look a little bit beyond the names. Even though it's Shemot, we're going to look beyond the names. What is the key to Jewish survival today? And what has been the key to Jewish survival over the last 3,300 years? So to get into this, we're going to talk about Moses. Moses, of course, is the great Jewish redeemer, the hero of the book of Exodus. I mean, assuming that we're not counting God, who is the real hero, but the human hero, of course, is Moses. And Moses will carry us not only throughout the book of Exodus, but Leviticus that follows, and Numbers, but who's counting? And then, of course, Deuteronomy. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, is the key figure from here on out in the Torah. We're going to talk about his birth, the birth of Moses. Take a look at text number 2 from the Talmud. You know what, David, we'll segue back to you. David, please read text number 2. This is from the Talmud. And it's going to quote the verse from this Torah portion soon, but here we go. Please take it away.
The moment Moses was born, the entire home filled with light. We know this from a juxtaposition of two passages. One verse states, and she, his mother, saw that Moses was good, Exodus 2:2. Another verse states, and God saw the light was good, Genesis 1:4.
Okay, thank you. So here, the Talmud does something that it often does. It's called a gzera shava. And what it does is it takes two words that are the same. Well, I guess one word that's the same. That's found in two different verses. And it draws a parallel between the two verses, even though there doesn't seem to be an immediate parallel. So one verse in this week's Torah portion says, Vatera oto ki tovhu. She saw that he was good. And who's the he? Moses. Moshe. He's born. Vatera oto, she saw him. Ki tovu, that he was good. They use the word tov. Says the Talmud, we can juxtapose the word tov, good, with another instance of where the Torah uses the word tov. Vayar, right in the beginning of creation, Vayar Elokim et ha'or ki tov, that God saw that the light was good. Says the Talmud, just like what was good in the beginning of creation was the light, so too when Moshe's mother sees that he was good, you know what that means? The entire house was filled with light. That's what it says. When Moshe was born and when Moses was born, the house filled with light. Let me ask you a question. How do you understand that? What does that mean? That the house was filled with light? What, they canceled their electricity? Yeah.
I mean, during creation, didn't God say a lot of things were good, not just light?
Yes. The first thing, excellent question. The question is, many things were good. The firmament is good. The grasses, everything's good. Adam and Eve were good. Well, until we weren't, right? Humans were great. It says, by the way, Tov Ma'od, very good. then God's like, can I get a refund on that mode, on that mode business? I don't know. I don't know how really good that one is. Maybe we should have stopped with the elephants. Things were kind of quiet before we rolled the dice on human beings with free choice. But that being said, your question is, which is a very good question. It's easy to cherry pick and say, oh, Tov, good, light, Moses, the house was filled with light upon his birth. Great. Yeah, why not grass grew from the walls? I mean, why are we going with the light? It's a good question. I think it's probably because it's the first thing that the Torah says was good. Also because I think we have it on tradition that his home filled with light. And the Talmud is saying that we also find verses anytime you have this type of, what would we call it? This form of Torah exposition where you're kind of expounding by way of the Gzera Shava. It's not that you looked at one word, found the word somewhere else, and then threw the two together and said, hey, let's find parallels. It's really because we know there's a parallel, and the words that are common are indicative of the deeper parallel, meaning it's working from the inside out, not the outside in. So we know that the house filled with light, and it also happens to be that it lines up with the verses that you find the word Tov here by Moses' birth, and you find the word Tov by creation in the light. Boom, boom, shakalaka. We got a connection. Okay, now here's the deal. How do we understand the basic statement that the house filled with light? Now, there's a few ways that we can understand that. One is on a very physical, practical level. The house literally filled with light, meaning, and I made a joke about electricity, but meaning in a time way before electricity, way before light bulbs, way before GE, and what are the other players? Sylvania, how do you pronounce it? Sylvania, and other companies, right? They use candles. You had a torch, you had a candle, you had a fire, whatever it was, that's how you had light. The house filled with light means that there was this glow, this aura around Moses, and it was literally bright. That's one way to understand it. I don't know if that actually happened. But maybe another way to understand it is that there was a spiritual light, a spiritual energy in the home right upon his birth. And by the way, you know how the story continues? He was born prematurely. He was born in the 7th month of his mother's pregnancy. And the Egyptians knew when everyone was pregnant, and there was a rule, there was a decree that they passed. All boys should be killed upon birth. And so what happened? They made their rounds, when they knew that the Jewish mothers were due. So they made their rounds, and, they did what they did, horrifically. What happened was Moses was born early, so they were able to hide him in the home until such point in time when they could no longer hide him because the Egyptians were going to come around. So what they do at that point, as we know famously, what else you do with a kid that you got to hide somewhere? Put him on the Nile River. I don't know. It seems like a leap, but that's what they did. Yeah. Put him in a Moses basket, appropriately named, right? Put him in a Moses basket, float him on the river. See you later, alligator. And next thing you know, huh?
Any connection to Hillel, light is sown for the righteous?
Oh, Arzur Latzadik. Yeah, probably. And that light, by the way, is probably not a physical light. Arzur Latzadik. Light is sown for the righteous. Means we would imagine a spiritual light. What were you saying?
In Israel, if you want to get a pig in a blanket, it's called a Moshe B'Teva.
Is it really? Really? Interesting. All right, that's breaking news. In Israel, if you want to get pigs in a blanket, meaning the hot dogs and the, right?
So
you call it Moshe
B'Teva.
A Moses in a basket. It sounds way more kosher than pigs in a blanket, but
Can you say that again, Ari?
Yeah. Oh, David is saying in Israel, if you want to get, the hot dogs wrapped in the little puff pastry thing? Yeah. Pigs in a blanket. So he said in Israel, they're called Moshe B'Teva. Moses in a basket. Anyway, bundled up just for your eating enjoyment. Back to the story. Moses is born. The house is filled with light. The question is, what kind of light? Physical, spiritual? Let's posit that it's spiritual. And the question thus becomes, so what is it about his birth that lends to this light? Now, we might say, meaning my question is, when you think about a person or a tzaddik, you would imagine that it might take a few years for the potential to be realized. Meaning a baby is a baby. Is a baby a tzaddik? That's a relevant question, I think, at this juncture. Moses born, the house is filled with light. Was he already a tzaddik? Tzaddik meaning completely righteous. Was he already on that level? Did it not take, by the way, you know how old he was when God tells him to be the Redeemer of the Jewish people? You know how old he was? 80 years old. Right? Most people at 80 are like, all right, I'm going to retire at this point and like coast. Can you imagine what? And God tells him, I got a job for you. You know what Moses says?
Find someone else.
Literally find someone else. Literally lose my number. Like, I don't even know what you're saying to me. Like, I don't want this whatsoever. Have you heard of Aaron, my brother? Have you looked up like, have you looked at the website like hirearedeemer.com? Can you find someone get that URL, right? Can you find someone else to make this happen? I don't want the job. I mean, he gets in trouble
around
for
the
like
bush.
Oh, excellent. Beating around the bush. Excellent. Very good. Very good. Listen, Moses, we know, did an amazing thing, but was he righteous from the beginning to the point that the house filled with light? It seems like yes, but the question is why. So to understand this on a much, much deeper level, we're going to look at another piece of Talmud, this time from the Jerusalem Talmud, not to be confused with the Babylonian Talmud, which we just studied. This is going to be text number 3. Scott, I'll ask you to please read this. And once again, it's another text that we'll need to kind of analyze and give some commentary on. Take it away.
This evil empire flourishes when Jews hurl the Torah to the ground. What is the source? And you cast the truth to the ground, and it will do and prosper. Truth can only refer to the Torah as it is written, but buy truth and never sell wisdom, ethics, and understanding.
Okay, thank you. So let's break this down because it's written very very unclear. So number 1, the first line says the following: This evil empire flourishes when Jews hurl the Torah to the ground. So what is this evil empire? All you need to know is that the Jerusalem Talmud is written in the first few hundred years of the Common Era. And so we know which evil empire we're talking about. That is the empire of
The Romans?
Rome, the Roman Empire. Why were they called the evil empire? What was so wrong with the Romans?
They were busy conquering and killing everybody.
They were conquering and killing. That would be a good reason to call them evil, correct? Not only were they in general conquering and killing, cue up your favorite Netflix miniseries on Rome. Not only was it just general plundering and killing and whatever they were doing, but specifically vis-a-vis the Jewish people in Judea, i.e. Israel, there was intense horror, including the destruction and the brutal murder of tens of thousands of Jews in the year 69 when the Second Temple was destroyed. So, says the Talmud, again, that opening line, this evil empire, i.e. Rome, flourishes when Jews hurl the Torah to the ground. It's kind of saying that we are on some level masters of our own destiny. If we hold on to the Torah, we have a better shot. If we cast Torah to the ground, meaning if we abandon our identity and our ways, then we become more susceptible to the other empires of the world that may not have our best interest in mind. And then the Talmud rhetorically asks, what's the source? And it uses, once again, 2 verses from Scripture. The first is from Daniel, where it says, and you cast the truth to the ground, and it will do and prosper. Meaning, when truth is cast to the ground, then the negative. And Daniel lived in the time of the Babylonian and the Persian empires, but nonetheless, the idea is that when truth is cast to the ground, then others prosper. Others meaning, I know it doesn't say others, but I'm adding that on. Others meaning the not so friendly empires. And what is truth? Says the Talmud, truth is Torah. So when it says you cast truth to the ground, that means when you cast Torah to the ground. Why is Torah truth? Well, it doesn't explain. It just says, by truth and never sell wisdom, ethics, and understanding, meaning by truth, that's a euphemism for Torah. So again, we have a few things here. Truth equals Torah, and therefore casting the truth to the ground means casting Torah to the ground, and that allows the negative forces to prosper. Make sense? I mean, even if it doesn't, that's what the Talmud says. Now, what I want to get to right now is the core question of what we just hit on, which is that Torah is called truth. Why is Torah called truth? And what does it mean that Torah is truth? And what is truth anyway? We live in a world where truth is so... wow, I don't even know what adjective to throw at it. Subjective? Fleeting? I'm going to use subjective again. I mean, my truth is my truth, your truth? I don't know. I mean, put 2 people in the same room. They each have their truth. You ever hear somebody say, I'm living my truth? You know what it means when a person says my truth? What's the implication?
It's different than your truth.
Might not be your truth. That's why I'm saying it's my truth. So the question is there an objective truth? What does that look like? What is truth anyway? I want to give you a Jewish definition of truth based on the teachings of Jewish mystical thought, which we always love to throw in. And that is that truth, at its core, by its very definition, is that which is eternal. And that's the working definition we're going to go with tonight. Truth equals eternality, that which is eternal. Anything that is not eternal is not true. Why is that so? So let's break this down. If something is only, okay, let's talk about science. Seems like a safe place to operate. Let's talk about science. Imagine we're in a laboratory together. And this, by the way, I should preface by saying that for my higher education, I went to yeshiva, rabbinical college, and there weren't many lab classes, as you can imagine, in rabbinical college. So I'm speaking from what I've seen out there in popular culture, i.e., whatever movie, film, show, whatever it was that showed a lab. Okay, so here we go. Imagine we're in a lab together. What are we wearing? Are we wearing like white lab? Do we wear white lab coats in a lab? Mm-hmm. You have to wear white in a lab? Is that
if you're going to be working with any sort of chemical or Bunsen burner?
And we are working with chemicals. So tonight, this is goggles. We got goggles on. We got a lab coat. We got goggles. What else do we need? Gloves?
Potentially a mask, depending on how cancerous the chemical is.
We got, this is epic. Shoe coverings. We're all in. This might be hazmat style. Pants.
No shorts.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm wearing my pants. This is great. It's perfect. All right. We're ready to roll. So now we go in and we are, it sounds like you guys have been in the lab and not just seen one on TV. Okay, good. That's good. That's a good start. Now, our objective is to do experiments to find out what's what. See, because I'm being vague enough to, all right, so we got to find out what's what. So we do an experiment and it turns out we get a result that is fascinating. We're like, wow, ready to publish. Not yet. We gotta change some things. We gotta modify some things and try to change some conditions around. We call this, I believe, the scientific method, correct? Maybe not. Just, yeah, it's good. Just nod. So here we go. So what we're doing here, I'm kidding. So what we're doing here is we're trying to see if this experiment is working under different conditions, when it works, when it doesn't work, when it breaks, when it bends, etc., just to figure out the parameters of these results. Great. Let's say I do the experiment once, get a result. Amazing. Again, I'm ready to be published in the National Institute of the Journal of Scientific Discovery of Laboratories, which is a brand new publication that is going to press very shortly. Now, you and I know that if we do an experiment once, we probably should be good to go. However, we do it again just for old time's sake. And when we do it again, you know what happens?
Different result.
Different result. You know what that means? How true is my first result? It's not true. Anything that's true, meaning if it's true, it can be repeated. If it doesn't repeat, it's not true. The Talmud has a really great way. It's not in the text over here, so I'm not going to read anything on it, but you have to take my word for it. The Talmud has an amazing framing for this. The Torah says regarding certain ritual impurities, these are things that would happen to a person that would render them ritually impure, not unclean physically, but ritually, spiritually impure, which would somehow affect their ability to go to the temple, the holy temple in Jerusalem, or bring offerings or eat from offerings, etc. When you were in a state of impurity, you couldn't do all those things. And how would one become impure? Typically, it's related to death. So if you come in contact with death, human death would be the severest form of impurity, but even coming into contact with a dead animal or a dead rodent or whatever it was would render somebody in a state of impurity. And sometimes, in order to purify oneself, the process of purification would involve, as the Torah, the Bible refers to it, mayim chayim. Can someone translate those words for me? Two words. Mayim chayim means live waters. And now you're thinking, live waters? What's a dead water? I don't even know what that is. Mayim chayim means living water. What's living water? Living water means it's coming from a source of water that is alive. What's a live source of water?
Streams, rivers.
Something that's flowing, says the Talmud. Listen to this. Unbelievable. Any stream that dries up even once in 7 years is not a live stream. You ever see rivers that dry up or streams that dry up? Happens all the time. Yeah, it happens all the time. A creek, a river, a stream, something, a source of what dries up. Huh?
What if it's once in every 8 years?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Okay.
The stream lives. Look, even once in 7 years. Now, these are the good questions. Even once in 7 years, if the stream dries up, it's called false waters, lying waters, waters that you know are lying because their lips are moving. I'm kidding. Waters that are lying, meaning they're false. The waters are false. It's not true. It's not authentic. Because truth is eternal. And I know you asked the question about what about 8 years? That's also not eternal. All right, we'll let it slide. But if it's true, it's always true. If the experiment works, it should always work. If it doesn't always work, it's not true. Truth stands eternally. You know, if you can picture the Hebrew letters for the word truth, emet, versus the Hebrew letters for the word sheker. I know I'm asking you to visualize Hebrew letters, which may or may not be, a thing. The Talmud says, and another source from the Talmud, that the letters Aleph, Mem, Taf, each of those letters is kind of like a block letter, which means it has 2 feet on the bottom for it to rest. The Aleph has 2 bases. The Mem, 2 bases. The Taf, 2 bases. Sheker, the Shin comes to a point. The Kuf comes to a point. The Resh comes to a point. 1 leg. Truth is stable. Falsehood is unstable. Someone lies, it becomes complicated. Right? I'm not telling you anything you don't know right now. Someone lies, now they have to remember the lie. That's way harder than remembering the truth. And they're lying about this, then they have to lie about that, and suddenly becomes a lying fest. A whole lying fest. Now, this lying, this cover-up, and that cover-up, and it becomes a full-time job. It becomes literally a full-time job to remember the lie. And it's inconsistent. And you have experts, you have people that are really good at catching lies. Really good. Like people that work in law enforcement or attorneys, lawyers, and judges, whatever it is. People that can see what's going on and find the inconsistencies. And you know what an inconsistency is? Meaning it's not the same story all the way through. It's not eternal. Truth is enduring. Falsehood, here, not there, yes here, it's not there, it's in and out, it's not stable. Okay. So far so good? You might be wondering how we got here. We got here because the Talmud said that the evil empire, sounds like a Star Wars reference, but this evil empire, meaning Rome, flourishes when Jews hurl the Torah to the ground. And the verse, the proof text was, and you cast the truth to the ground, and it will do, the other will do and prosper. Casting truth to the ground, truth is Torah. Let's take a look at text number 4. Here's another angle on this. So again, so we have this big idea that truth is enduring, truth is consistent, truth is eternal, whereas falsehood is not consistent, not eternal, not enduring. And so let's bring this back into the discussion about Torah, and let's connect some dots here. Torah is truth because Torah emet, right? The Torah emet, not b'zachenu, right? Torah is truth. Why is Torah true? Because it's eternal. And you know what's not eternal? Everything else. Nothing else is eternal. Think about it for a second. What's eternal? I'm holding a plastic bottle. This might be eternal. This may very well be. I don't know that this is going to go anywhere. This may be eternal. But it can be destroyed and everyone's thirsty. No, but you can, everything that exists in the world is temporal, including you and I, including human beings, right? Here today, gone tomorrow. The one thing that is eternal is Torah. We're going to talk about why and how it differs from everything else. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's get to text number 4. Let me pull it up here on the screen. Adrian, please read.
This world is called a fraudulent world, for falsehood is another name for things that are not transient. In other words, subject to termination. All worldly delights are transient, and it is written, for at the time of death, one cannot take everything.
Thank you. That's a verse from Psalms. King David writes, for at the time of death, one cannot take everything. I would modify that and say at the time of death, one cannot take anything. You can't take anything with you. There's a famous story that I like to share that I've shared many, many times. I'll share it once again now. A story about this fellow who passes away. Before he passes away, he gives his kids, or upon his death, they discover he has 2 notes, 2 letters to his family. One to be read immediately and one to be read after the Shiva, after the 7 days, traditionally the 7 days of mourning. And they open up the first letter and it includes his final wishes about how to be buried, how to be laid to rest. And it says that he'd like to be buried in his favorite pair of socks. And so the family calls the Chevra Kadisha, the Jewish Burial Society, and they say, okay, we have a special request, Jewish burial, Jewish funeral, Jewish service, but one wrinkle, he wants to be buried in his socks. And the Chevra Kadisha say, that's not how we roll. That's not how Jews are buried. Simple white shrouds, but no socks. That's not how it works. Say, yeah, but it's her father's final wishes. So they say, look, your father wrote that, here. But where he is now, where his soul is now in the world of truth, he definitely is okay with things being done in accordance with Jewish law. No socks, and the family acquiesces, no socks. After the 7 days of mourning, they open up the second letter, and the letter begins, my dear family, by now you've certainly come to realize that you can't take anything with you, not even your favorite pair of socks. Because that's the truth. You can't even take your favorite pair of socks with you. Everything in this world is transient. Whether it's food and drink or stuff, items, whatever, anything and everything physical, it's all temporary. It's all temporary. What about Torah? Torah is truth. Let's take a look at the next few texts. Let's jump into some more texts. This is going to be text 5a. Meira, please read this one, 5a.
A true tongue will be established forever, but a lying tongue just for a moment.
Yeah, like we said before, truth is la'ad, meaning forever, but a lying tongue is just for a moment. Text 5b, here you have the Rabbi, commentary who explains that.
Something true will always be correct and proper. It cannot be reversed at any point. However, something false can happen to exist for a little while, but it is fleeting. It can't last long. There's
a beautiful verse from Tehillim, from Psalms, that I just remember. Thank you for reading that. It says, Emet me'eretz titzmach, which means that truth sprouts forth from the ground. And it's a beautiful imagery if you think about it. Imagine someone who tries to bury the truth. I think that's a phrase, right? Bury the truth. Hide the truth. And you know what King David says? Emet me'eretz titzmach. The truth will always sprout from the ground. You try to bury it, you know what's going to happen? At some point, you'll be like, oh, no, there's the truth. Right there, growing up from the ground. I try to hide it, but here it is. You can't kill the truth. You can't bury the truth. The truth will always come out. That which is false may reign, may look like it prospers. It may look like you're getting away with it in the moment if it's false, but ultimately that will fall and the truth will rise, because truth is permanent, truth is enduring, truth is eternal, and falsehood is temporary, fleeting, and non-eternal. Everything of this world is temporary. Let's do the next text, 6a, again, from the teachings of the great collection of works called the Talmud. Tamara, please read text 6a.
Rabbi Katana said, the world will exist for 6,000 years, followed by destruction. As it is written, God will be exalted and alone on that day.
That's from Isaiah. Thank you for reading that. I will tell you that sounds a little bit doom and gloom. Sorry?
Does that mean we have like 200-300 years?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Might as well enjoy it now. I'm kidding. Okay, so one sec, because those that are counting 5786. That's about 214 years
Right.
for those that are counting at home.
Do we hold by that tradition?
Wait. So let me explain. So let me explain.
I'll be long gone anyway.
No. One second. Oh, you know what? I don't need to explain. I'll let Rabbi Chaim Yosef Chaim of Baghdad explain text 6b. Please continue one more.
This doesn't mean there will be destruction and desolation. God forbid. Rather, the natural law that will prevail for 6,000 years will end. It will be replaced by a new, much improved, beautiful environment with no negative properties. There will be no grief, moaning, suffering, or negativity. Instead, we will enjoy only goodness and wonderful, healthy delights.
Well, that sounds like a better future than the other one. We were thinking that in 214 years, it's all over.
Yeah, but until then.
Yeah, we're going to enjoy it.
Doesn't the Jewish calendar stop at year 6,000?
Yeah, so 6,000 is kind of when the natural order of things, as we know it, will come to an end. It doesn't mean that nothing will be. It's kind of like, I'll give you a little bit of an analogy here. It says that the millennia correspond to the days of the week. So 0 through 1 through 999, whatever is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So why can't I speak? The first 5,000 years up until the 6,000th year is Sunday through Friday.
Wait, what?
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 0 to, let's just do 1,000. 0 to 1,000 is Sunday. 1,000, 2,000 is Monday. 2 to 3 is Tuesday. 3 to 4 is Wednesday. 4 to 5 is Thursday. 5 to 6 is Friday. And so at the 7th millennium, the 6,000th year, the 6,000th year, that is the onset of Shabbat. That doesn't mean it's like the, sorry?
The cosmic Sabbath.
Yeah, the cosmic Sabbath, exactly. Which is at year 6,000 plus. So it doesn't mean that it's over. It just means that the paradigm that we know of it is over. It's similar to the difference between the paradigm between the 6 days of the week and Shabbat. So Shabbat is a day of the week, and conceptually you can like go about it as you would normally. But it's really a day that's elevated. I mean, without getting into too deep into the Kabbalah of it, there's Aliyat HaOlamot, all the worlds are elevated and the very fabric of existence is elevated. It's a time that we're connected. The energy of Malchut is created, which is why it's associated with the Shabbat Queen. That energy is like, we live in a world of like masculine energy, the more dominant energy. Shabbat is really where the feminine energy dominates. That's why it's the Shabbat Queen. There's a lot of stuff about this. It's a fundamental shift in the entire, really the architecture of existence. Shabbos is very different than the other 6 days of the week. It's not just, don't work. There's a whole kind of spiritual, the spiritual fabric of creation is different on Shabbat than as opposed to the rest of the week. And so in a very similar way, we're saying about the 7th millennia, i.e. from the year 6,000. So until the year 6,000, things are pretty much normal. But from the year 6,000, it's all different. And in a good way. Shabbat is not a bad day. You get chunked if that's your jam. Don't use it as jam. That would be very weird. But anyway, Shabbat is, Shabbat. In a similar way, that is the Yom Shekulo Shabbat, Olam Haba, the world to come, is known as the Yom Shekulo Shabbat. It's the day / millennia that is all Shabbat, and that's the energy of the time.
This makes it sound like we're 214 years from Mashiach.
So the question is, we're anticipating the redemption of Mashiach, a better world, a utopian world, or a world of no suffering, no pain, right? What everyone wants, world peace. Every Miss America that I ever watched. I'm kidding. But they always say, whatever. They always say, what do you want? World peace. Who doesn't want world peace? Right? Everyone wants world peace. In Judaism, there's a word for that, Mashiach. So the question is, sounds like there's a hard time for that. Sounds like 6,000. So what are we doing? I mean, let's cruise until then, but what are we doing? Okay.
Doesn't it feel like this moment in time with all the upheaval and what's going on in the world? Isn't that supposed to be pre?
Yeah, but the question is, but isn't it, if it has a hard beginning, however, do you know the rules of Shabbat where you can bring in Shabbat a little early? Mm-hmm. You can take Shabbat in a little bit early. So, right, so like sunset is whatever, 7 o'clock. Meanwhile, the early minyan is at 6 o'clock. Boom shakalaka. We're ready for the early minyan. We're ready for the early.
Does that mean we have year 6,000 plus 18 years?
What it meant? No. What it means is those that daven at the late minyan, they're stuck with it. No, I'm kidding. Good.
I mean, I always look for the extra 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Do I get the extra 18 years?
Yeah. We're gonna keep it to the earlier time. But it's also like, when you're getting ready for Shabbat and you're getting ready for the Shabbat meal, and you have the Friday night dinner, you're cooking on both levels, cooking, right? So you got your chicken soup up, your chicken matzo ball soup, oof, right? If that's your jam, otherwise maybe you got like a little zucchini, cream of zucchini thing actually going on, right? You get your soup going, you get your kugel, right? You get your potato kugel, yeah, absolutely. Sweet Lakshan kugel you can go with, whatever it is. Right, you get all your stuff ready, and there's a lot of people do this in their homes, where they'll taste of the food before Shabbat. They'll taste of the food before Shabbat just to make sure everything's good. A little challah, a little gefilte fish action, a little chicken soup, a little kugel, right? You just get a little taste, like you gotta make sure it's good. And meanwhile, by the time you're done, it's over. It's like, what? There's no Shabbat food. Well, we all had it before. You got to make sure you have enough so that everyone can taste it, and you're still covered. That's why it says that we have the access to study Kabbalah, the deepest secrets of Torah, because the era of the Messianic era, Mashiach's era, that's when the wisdom, that's when like radically greater wisdom is going to be accessible. But we get to taste. We're taking from the chicken soup early. We're like, right? Your mother gives you a little chicken soup before Shabbat and says, here, you look hungry. Eat some. There's plenty of soup for later. Have a little soup. Nema bissel, right? Take a little soup. That's what's going on. We're accessing the energy. Okay, back to the story. The point is that everything about this world is transient, because everything's going to change at the year 6,000. I remember Conan, Y2K, remember that? In the year 2000. Who remembers that bit? Oh, Conan's bit in the year 2000? Don't make me do it with the funny voice. All right, look it up. Conan O'Brien in the year 2000 bit. Anyway, it was a funny, whatever. You guys, come on. Got to get more pop culture. What's the point? Everything is transient. Everything's going to change. So when we speak about truth, what is truth? What is truth? The Steelers, listen, as a Pittsburgh guy, that was crazy. That was crazy to Sunday night. That is bananas. That ain't true.
Truth is Mike Tomlin never having a losing season.
That is, you know what? I will grant you that. Mike Tomlin does not have losing season. True. That is true. But otherwise, it can go either way. I mean, said kicker, wide right, who does that? I mean, it could go either way. Truth, there is no truth to something that can change at any moment. The only truth that we have is Torah. Torah is divine wisdom. And just like God is eternal, God's wisdom is eternal. God doesn't sell out. God doesn't change his mind. It's not a thing. Human beings, we change our mind all the time. It's like, oh, let's go for it on fourth down. Time out. I thought about it. Let's kick it away. Things are changing constantly. You know what doesn't change? God. God's wisdom, God's Torah. Take a look, Toba, we're up to you. Take a look at text 7a. 7a from Maimonides.
It is clear and explicit in the Torah that the commandments remain forever without change, subtraction, or addition.
Look at that line. And by the way, Maimonides is writing this in his Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah. These are the fundamentals of Torah. Torah doesn't change. It's not subtracted. You don't take away from it. You don't add to it. God doesn't change his mind. God doesn't add things or take away things. Torah is eternal. Take a look at 7b from the Abarbanel. One more, please.
The divine Torah that is in our hands is eternal and cannot change at any time. This is because the blessed God created it according to his unlimited wisdom. Excuse me. The Torah is relevant to every person at every time because God's knowledge is not limited to any particular time frame.
That's it. By the way, thank you for reading that. By the way, It's well discussed why Torah was given at Mount Sinai in the middle of the desert. We don't even know where Mount Sinai is. I know what you're thinking. I took a tour and they showed me where the Mount Sinai is. Yeah, so
I know
that's
where Mount Sinai is. I grew up in Mount Sinai. On Long Island.
Hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital?
No, on Long Island. There's a town,
It's a
Mount Sinai.
place called Mount Sinai on Long Island?
And that's where I grew up.
I'm going to guess that that's not the OG. That's not the original. That is not the original Mount Sinai. That is the Long Island version of Mount Sinai. All right. Listen, Long Island is that's one version. Here's the point. The point is that there's a reason why Torah is given in a desert, because no one should ever say that the Torah is a product of a certain age, a certain culture, a certain era, a certain civilization. It's a product, it's a result of a certain people in a certain time, and therefore it's limited to that time and space. Torah is given in a desert to reflect its timelessness. Did I do enough isses? I'm not sure. To reflect the fact that it's timeless, right? It's like certain styles come and go. Certain things are, those things are transient. There's certain things that are timeless. And even the timeless things, that since they're physical, they're not really timeless, but relative to that which is really fleeting and a fad, cue up your slap bracelets and your fidget spinners. What other fads have there been coming in and out, whatever? You know, there's certain things that are fads that come and go. Certain things are timeless. And one of the things that's timeless in this context, not one of the things, the other thing that is timeless is Torah. And that is why Torah is associated with truth. Because what is truth? Truth is that which doesn't change. And what is the only thing that doesn't change? God's mind. Sorry, that was the answer to the question. I should have paused more. What is the one thing that doesn't change? Pause. God's mind doesn't change. God's wisdom doesn't change. God's Torah doesn't change. That remains eternal. And so you know what happens when you and I study Torah? We are drinking from the elixir of life. We are tasting, not just from mom's chicken soup. We are tasting from the Sam HaChaim, from the elixir of life. Everything else promises eternality. Yeah, Ponce de Leon found what? The fountain of youth, right? Isn't that what he found allegedly?
He was looking for it.
Or he was looking for it. And you know Ponce de Leon Avenue in Atlanta in Midtown? And Ponce City Market, you know why Ponce City Market is where it is? No. I'm sure you know why, right? It used to be something called
Sears.
Before Sears. You know what was before Sears?
The baseball stadium.
Yeah, before the baseball stadium. Why all that development right there? You know what the first thing that was there?
What?
Ponce Springs. And they were selling water that they said was the fountain of youth. That's how it began. It all began with someone trying to make a buck on some natural springs that were over there.
That's a true story.
That is legit. You can Wikipedia me and fact check me. Ponce Springs. That is where the Ponce City Market, that's that whole area of development. What's the point? Someone wants to sell you on an elixir of life. They're just trying to make a buck. The only thing that is eternal is divine truth, is Torah's truth. And therefore, when we study Torah, which is what we're doing now, when we study Torah, you know what happens? We touch the eternal. We touch eternality. We ingest into our minds, into our being, we ingest that which is eternal. And we become and we gain a measure of eternality. Even though we are not eternal beings, we are temporal, we are mortal human beings. But when we study Torah, when we dedicate ourselves to Torah and to mitzvot, you know what happens? We gain a little bit of eternality. Let's take a look at text number 8. This is such a beautiful text. Text number 8, absorbing a measure of eternity. Here's in the Rebbe's words. When God gave us the Torah, he liberated us from the grip of death. By giving us the Torah here on earth, he endowed us with a measure of eternality. Even as we resided in physical bodies subject to aging and decay, we would live forever free from the angel of death. That's how it was when he gave us the Torah. Let's continue. However, this came undone when we worship the golden calf. For the Torah to imbue humans with eternality, it must be embodied in our physical experience. The sin of the golden calf introduced unholiness into our bodies, forming a barrier to holiness. This prevented the Torah from being absorbed into the body. But if it were to be absorbed, it would grant us eternality. And even though humans don't live forever, nonetheless, there is a measure of eternality that resides certainly in the soul. and souls do live forever, that is granted to us when we study Torah. And this, my friends, brings us back to how we started with the birth of Moses. Take a look at the very next text, text 9. I'll keep on reading. Rabbi Bachya ben Asher writes the following in his Kara Kamach. Look what he writes in text number 9. The meaning of the text, the entire home filled with light, right? That verse that talks about the birth of Moses, is that from the time of his birth, Moses was worthy of illuminating the entire world with the Torah he would receive at Mount Sinai. Look at that line. Why did the entire house fill with light upon his birth? It's because Moses would become intimately connected with Torah. Moses, the one who took us out of Egypt, who brought us to Mount Sinai, who connected us right with the Ten Commandments by the voice of God, by the voice of God, and thus Moses is connected with Torah, and Torah is eternal, and that is represented by the light. I asked before, what is the light? The house filled with light. What does that mean? Incandescent, fluorescent, LED. What style did I miss? Right? I don't know.
Natural sunlight.
Natural sunlight. Pff, who does that?
Spirituality.
Spirituality. What is it? What kind of light? What? The house was filled with light. What kind of light? So we lean towards probably a spiritual light. You know what it means? You know what we're understanding now? It was the light of Torah that he would later on help connect with us. Torah Moshe Emet, the Torah To Emet. Moses is true, and his Torah is true. It's called Torah Moshe Avdi, God says, the Torah of Moses, my servant. Torah is connected with Moses. Of course, it's from God, but Moses is the conduit for us to receive the Torah so many thousands of years ago. And it's Moses, and so upon his birth, the home was already filled with light. What light? The light of Torah and the light of divine eternality. That is what filled the home. And it was right at his birth. You know why? For the same reason. Because what is truth? Truth is eternal. Imagine if Moses only gains Torah at the age of 80 or whatever it was when he took the Jews out of Egypt and brought us to Mount Sinai. That would mean the first 80 years of his life he wasn't connected with Torah. He wasn't connected with that. But that's not true. It's not. If it only starts at year 80, then it's not truth. Truth is eternal. Truth is consistent. That means even upon his birth, he was connected with this dimension. Even if he hadn't yet connected us with Torah, he somehow was connected already with this dimension. Just a very, very interesting text number 11 from the Talmud. A few more texts before we wrap this up. Rabbi Barachana said, an Arab once said to me, come, I will show you those who were swallowed by the earth due to the sin of Korach. Rabbi Barachana said, I saw 2 rifts in the ground. He, the Arab, said to me, listen, what do you hear? I heard them calling Moshe v'Torato emet. Moses is truth, his Torah is truth. Ve'hein badayin, and we are the frauds. Moses is true, the Torah is true, and we, bunch of frauds. We're not true, right? We think, we say, we believe, we argue, we this, we that, but it's not truth. It's not core truth. Torah is true, and Moshe, who represents Torah, is truth. Take a look at text 12. Again, along the same lines from the Midrash. Moses devoted his life to the Torah, therefore it is called his Torah. As it is stated in Malachi, remember the Torah of my servant Moses. The Torah of my servant Moses means that the Torah is called by his name. And finally, one more compelling idea here regarding Moses. This will take you by surprise. The Talmud says in Tractate Sota, same tractate we started today's class with, Moses never died. That's a hot take. Pretty sure he did. The end of the 5 books of Moses talks about his death. Says the Talmud, Moses never died. As he stood and served God then at Mount Sinai, so does he continue to stand and serve God today. Well, what does that mean? Are we denying his death? What does that mean? So comes along the Rebbe and explains the following. Text number 14. Our sages taught that Moses never died. If his nature, even his physical nature, was truth, his earthly presence couldn't end and die. Truth is eternal even in the physical world. which means that if Moses is truth, then he has to live forever. So what does that mean? If he actually died, how does it mean that he didn't die? What does that mean? So he continues, we can explain the immortality of Moses like this. Our sages spoke of an extension of Moses in every generation. This means that Moses' soul integrates into the leaders and sages of each generation. His soul is especially present in the leading spiritual giant of the generation, for there is someone just like Moses in every generation. The soul of Moses integrates into the body of this leader. That means that there are leaders in every generation, and there's a little bit of the soul of Moses, a little spark that is into that. And the bottom line is we can all be like Moses. This is the final text, text 15. Text 15 writes, does the Torah belong to the teacher? Rabbi said, yes. The Torah belongs to the teacher, as it is written, and he studies his Torah day and night. And that means that each of us can be the one to whom Torah belongs. By studying Torah, by dedicating ourselves to Torah, even if it's not the whole day. You don't need to be a full-time Torah scholar for this to apply to you. You can also dabble in the Tuesday night Torah studies class, or the Sunday morning Kabbalah Cafe class, or the Thursday night Tanya class with Rabbi Steve Freeman, or whatever in between, or just on your lunch break. Right? Dial up Chabad.org and listen to a class, or go to our podcast, Torah Unraveled. Check out the videos on our YouTube channel or whatever, or check out any Torah classes or Torah study or Torah books that you find and that you enjoy and that you love. And at that moment, know this. And I can cue up my my film trailer preview voice. In a world of falsehood, one thing stood out above everything else: the Torah of truth. I didn't really lean into it because I felt like a little self-conscious. But here's the point. In a world of confusion, in a world of lies, in a world in which it's really hard sometimes to know what's up, what's down, what's true, what's false, and everyone will sell you their version of the truth, there's something that we've had for literally, not an exaggeration, 3,300 years that has stood with us and stood by us and helped us navigate the most treacherous of times, and that is Torah. It's not, when you think about it, what is the key to Jewish immortality? That's how we started today's class. It's not I know I said before the language, but it's not the language. Many Jews today don't even speak Hebrew. Many Jews today speak Yiddish or Spanish or French or Russian or Italian or Portuguese or English, right? Not even Hebrew. It can't be the language that's the secret. Well, is it the food? The food changes. The dress, the clothing, that changes also. Everything has changed over 3,330 something years. The one thing that doesn't change, the one constant, talk about scientific method here. You know what the one constant is? Whether you were a Jew in the 1300s or a Jew in the 21st century, there's one thing that binds us and connects us and unites us. There's one similarity, and that is, it's the same Torah. Torah has never changed. The Torah scroll in the ark behind me, that's never changed. Not one letter has been changed in 3,300 years. It's the same Torah. That's the one constant that keeps us together, keeps us alive, and keeps us going. And by the way, to be very clear, that doesn't mean that Torah is not made relevant to the modern era, whatever that era is. But one thing that doesn't happen is that we don't change Torah. The moment you change Torah, Judaism is over. There is no such thing called Judaism anymore. If you change it, then it doesn't exist. The reason why we're here is because we never changed Torah. We applied Torah to modern dilemmas. In fact, segue to commercial mode, I'm starting a course in 2 weeks. From tomorrow, 7th to the 21st is 2 weeks from tomorrow, called Captivating Cases in Rabbinic Responsa, which is about 30 cases, real life questions that were asked to rabbis over the last 1,000 years about questions that came up in their struggles and their experience. And Torah had to be applied to those cases. But we always apply Torah to the modern world and not the other way around. Because the moment you modify Torah, then Torah ceases to be a thing anymore. Torah is eternal. God is eternal. The Jewish people are eternal. And it's the confluence of all three that holds that eternality together. So a few thoughts that come to mind as we conclude. Number one, Ashreinu matov chalkenu umanoim goralenu mayafi yushasenu. how lucky and how fortunate we are to have the Torah. It's like there's a reason why there's literally a holiday in the Jewish calendar called Simchat Torah, where we dance with the Torah scrolls. It's because we are so lucky to have a truth and a constant and wisdom that can guide us in any and every circumstance, and we have access to it in our lives. That's an amazing gift. Number one. Number two, if you have the gift, open it up. It's one thing, some people like to have a gift and they keep it closed, they keep it in the box, and then they sell it on eBay 30 years down the line for like $50,000 because it's an unopened NES original Super Mario Brothers game. I wished I never opened mine and played it for all those years. I'm kidding. Right, so, some people like to keep their things closed up in a box. Open it up. It's your gift. It's your heritage. Access it. Enjoy it. Take it for a spin. Take it for a ride. Enjoy it. Number three, remember that in a world of confusion, that there is something that can center us. And so it's important to not hold that for ourselves, but rather to share that with each other. If you have found Torah to be inspiring to you, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, share it with a neighbor. Share the gift of the light. And don't forget to study Torah not only in the synagogue, but in your home. Like Moses, your home can also be filled with this light. And I'm not going to end that off like Bob Barker used to do, if the price is right. No, not if the price. It's not about money. Your home can be filled with light, like Moses' home was filled with light. Because of Torah, fill your own home with light. Study a little Torah at your dining room table every night or once a week even. Crack open a book. Host a class. I'll teach a class at your house. Assuming you're in Atlanta and I can get there fairly easily. I'll host a class. Bring together friends. We'll do it. Even once a month. We'll do a class. Let your house be filled with light. It'll transform your house. At your desk at work. No one else has to know. Crack open up something on your phone or computer or listen to something on your lunch break. Allow your office to be filled with the light. And little by little, all of our spaces will be filled with light until the whole world is filled with light. And then we can finally have the real kugel of the future era. Thank you for joining me tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. May our lives be filled with the light of Torah. All right? My pleasure. Thank you all for being here. It's good to see you all. Thank you. Questions? Thank you. Questions, comments?
Rabbi, one thing that...
Lots of blessings.
What was the third one? You said Torah, God. And what was the third one?
Torah and the Jewish people. Eternality of God, eternality of Torah, eternality of the Jewish people. It's when we have that confluence of all three. Questions, comments?
Rabbi, when you had said that truth was cast to the ground and that others prosper, I immediately thought of the Sitra Akra. And, when I hear truth, I thought of Tiferet, right? And how, in a mystical sense, if that sort of says that truth can combat the Sitra Akra, number one. But number two, it says, if you take your soul and you cast it down to sort of the Malkut, to the ground level, and you forget that it has that higher place, that will also cause the other side to prosper. So I feel like, it's beautiful how many ways you can take that, because just like you said, the soul, which corresponds to Tiferet, is also eternal.
Yeah, very good. Cameron, good to see you. I'm glad to have you back. Ramon, we need you here.
God willing, I'll be back next week.
Ramon is now reduced to a box, but we need you in the flesh.
God willing, I'll be back next week.
All right, next time. Good to see you, Toba. Good to see you, Cameron. All right, and also if you guys were here, we have sushi. I'm just saying, we got some fresh sushi. Yeah, legit. We're not pulling any punches tonight. Steve, it's great to see you. It's been a minute. For the Zooms. Is that some MC Escher behind you?
No, it's an artist that I met in Alaska, and I said, I have to have this. And he said, it's meant to go up and down. And I said, if I get it, I'm going to put it sideways. He says, if you buy it, you can put it any way you want. But,
love it.
Yeah, but...
you know what they call the Jews in Alaska?
The frozen chosen.
That's right.
Yeah, or Jewsicles. Jusicles.
Is
It's
it the
good.
frozen chosen or the chosen frozen? I'm not
Or
sure.
the Jusicles. Yeah. But
That's my new line of fish sticks.
it was one. It was one. Think of the Halifax. It was good to see you at the wedding, and it's great to be with you again.
It's great to see you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes,
And your mom
likewise.
looks younger every day.
That's the way we roll. Mom, good to see you.
Who's this fella cat she's dating?
That's the big boy. He wants to learn Torah. Every time he hears Ari's voice, he runs to get onto the computer with me.
Fantastic.
Little Ketzelem.
He's big.
All right. Good stuff. All right, I'm going to close out. Steve, good to see you. Mom,
Steve.
good to see you. Kay, Richard, good to see you. Dr. Maxie, good to see you. Larry, Ellie, David, Danny, Ramon, and Sandrine. Good to see you guys. Lila Tov, have a great night.
Tov.
Lots of light, lots of Torah. We'll see you soon.